I'm going to ask the question. I'm actually going to pick somebody and ask the question. Danny, are you saved? Good answer. Is that an easy one to just answer with one word? It's a little bit of a loaded question. Because I had a guy ask me, I didn't know the guy, we had met, and actually I told him, glad to meet you, shaking his hand. He said, are you saved? And I felt a little short just saying yes. So I paused just a second because that's kind of a loaded question. It's kind of like, Randy, have you quit beating on Janet? Well, it's hard to answer that with a yes or no because I feel certain, he's still here, I feel certain he's never hit her, So when I knew what this guy was asking, and I felt it probably needed a little more of an answer because that being saved has some conditions. Mark 16:16 says, whoever believes is baptized will be saved. There is, of course, just in that statement, then you realize there's a negative that's also true, and he actually tells it, but whoever does not believe will be condemned. But we know that a lot of times there's a lot of conditions on things. All through the epistles and even the Gospels, we are told things, and especially in the epistles, they're wrote to us. They're wrote to Christians. They're not really written to unbelievers. They're written to Christians. And in Jude, he says, beloved, when I give all diligence to write to you of the common salvation, it is needful for me to write unto you and exhort you that you should earnestly contend for the faith. And then skipping down there, a couple of verses, in verse 5, he says, I will therefore put you in remembrance, though ye once knew this, how that the Lord, having saved the people out of the land of Egypt, they were saved, afterward destroyed them that believed not. So they were saved, but then they weren't. Jesus said in Matthew 10, verse 22, and you'll be hated by all for my name's sake, but the one who endures to the end will be saved. So there's a little more to it, isn't there? When we're baptized, we're saved. But if we quit right there and we don't endure, Jesus said again in Matthew 24:13, but the one who endures to the end will be saved. If we as Christians, we obey, we're baptized, we go through all the things that we're supposed to do, we come to church, but we don't do all the things that we're told to do, are we still saved? In Revelations, Jesus writes, and it's symbolic, so I know it's sometimes a little hard to understand, but the first 2 or 3 chapters really aren't that much. In Revelations 2, he says, he that hath an ear, let him hear what the Spirit says to the churches. To him that overcometh will I give to eat of the tree of life, which is in the midst of the paradise of God. So we're going to have to overcome. And this symbolic tree of life, what do you think that is? Well, it's heaven. In Revelations 2:11, he who has an ear, let him hear what the Spirit says to the churches. The one who conquers will not be hurt by the second death. That means that you're not going to be condemned to hell. The ones that conquers. And he gives them all these things they need, these different churches, that they need to be correcting. Things that they need to be doing. We are part of God's family of saved people when we obey. But to remain saved, we have to be remaining faithful. We have to do that enduring to the end. What can we expect if we don't endure to the end? If we're told we have to endure to the end to get it, is not the opposite just as true? Do you think God was just kidding? If we don't endure to the end, we'll be lost. Paul mentions this several times about the fact that he didn't consider himself to have attained. And he watched out of himself that he wouldn't be lost. And Paul, that's a pretty good fellow to be worried about such things. What can we expect if we haven't even obeyed the first thing? We haven't even been baptized into his family, that we haven't become one of those children that's going to inherit with Christ when this is over. Well, there's not much hope for us at all. We offer an invitation every time we meet because we don't want anybody to be lost. We want them to be saved. So we offer the opportunity for you to come, to confess and repent, and be baptized, and live a life, endure to the end. If you haven't done that, please do that before it's too late. If you've not been enduring, if you're not faithful, stop and change that before it's too late. Because we have to endure to the end. We have to remain faithful so that we can be saved. If there's anything we can do, please come forward as we stand and as we sing.